Shae Russell from mining.com.au, and joining me today is Peter Lester, the non-exec chair for Aurora Energy Metals. Peter, it's been a while since we've spoken. How are you?
I am fine. It's been since we were doing the scoping study, I think.
It certainly has, and there's been some movement happening within your projects and Aurora Energy Metals itself. Let's cover a couple of those things today. Can you walk us through the rationale for the recent option agreements for both your US-based project and your WA exploration tenements? Oh, and also, how does this benefit shareholders?
Absolutely. For quite some time, in fact, almost since the beginning, we have said publicly that we were very keen to identify a path to take this project into US management. It's in far northwest US. It really should be managed in the US for a whole lot of reasons, which we can cover later if you want. And we've been working on different entities and ways of doing that for quite some time. Reasons for doing that is it's a lot easier to do things locally than it is to do it from Subiaco when you're in the US. So what we've done is we've signed an option agreement with a company called Eagle Energy in the US, which is a private company which wants to IPO on the NASDAQ exchange in New York. And the idea is to create a US domiciled uranium miner and take it forward from there with local management. We may have a part of that. It ensures, we think, that shareholders will retain quite a significant shareholding in the listed company. And it's around about 40%, 35 to 40%, which is quite significant. So we've got a lot of upside there for the US. The other reason for going into the US is you get US expertise, local, in not only uranium, but also permitting and all the other things that need to be done in the US, and access to US capital markets. The second agreement we signed was an option agreement on paleochannel, which are uranium prospects in Western Australia. And these are highly prospective. We've known about them for quite some time. And they're offering a low-cost look at the future for Aurora as an explorer, and potentially, should there be a change of legislation, development. These two option agreements will line up Aurora's strategy going forward. One, exposure to uranium in the US through a significant holding in a US listed company, and the second one through local exploration. And what's the benefit for our shareholders? One, most important one is you retain quite a significant shareholding, as I said, 35 to 40% in a NASDAQ listed company, and that's a pretty strong market over there. The second is through various milestone payments. We get additional value milestone payments from Eagle Energy, which will give us working capital here in Australia. And the third one is the WA tenements, of course, diversify us to the point where we have a project in development through a shareholding in Eagle, and we have exploration locally. So they're the key things.
You touched on why a US management team will be able to better develop Aurora's uranium project, but why is it beneficial overall to be listed on the NASDAQ right now?
Well, it's not right now. It's going to take a little while to get an IPO away over there. So we have, it's an option agreement, remember. So Eagle Energy will do due diligence. We'll go through the process of setting up the IPO in the US before you can actually list. So same as Australia, there's a process prior to the actual listing. So the listing will be sometime, hopefully, 2025. Probably one of the key things about doing that is listing gives you exposure to the US stock exchanges, but also the capital markets over there. This is a US asset in a hungry environment for power. That power is going to be, there's a whole range of power sources in the US. Uranium will be a very, very large part of that. They've got 96 reactors over quite a number of power stations there, and they're growing. And there was a bipartisan support. It'll probably be stronger with Trump for expanding that. And there are a whole lot of reasons why energy is going to become a major crunch thing in the US. And Eagle Energy, of which we'll be a major shareholder, will be part of it. The other reason for going over there is on the management side, there's a lot of permitting required, a lot of regulations that we have to follow. People on the ground in northwest USA can do it. People sitting in Subiaco have to fly people over, and we've got a manager over there already. He'll be part of the new team. It's just they make friends, they understand what's going on. We don't. So it's simple. It's a more streamlined process and more efficiently navigating the permitting and all the various things that have to happen over in the US. The other one, the interesting one, is there are some big financial incentives floating around in the US at the moment. Clean Energy Act. Several companies have actually participated in that. It's a lot easier to access that money if you're a US company. And the numbers are quite large. Companies have got of the order of hundreds of millions of dollars already out of those things in both the lithium space and the uranium space. So if we want to get access to the US federal funds, best way is to be in the US and part of it.
So let's bring this back to Australia now. Are you able to sort of expand more on these exploration tenements that you've acquired out in Western Australia?
What they are is they're in private hands at the moment. We've been watching them for quite some time. They're paleo channels, which are fluid channels or rich in uranium, we hope. Not all of them are rich in uranium, but South Australia is full of them, for example. We haven't done an awful lot of exploration, we being West Australians, on these things, but we have identified them, we being West Australians in general. Some are held by other companies. Most of the uranium projects in Australia are well understood with feasibility studies, but they're stagnant. They're stagnant because there's no mining of uranium in Western Australia at the moment. Going back to exploration, however, there are, and we've got, I think, 5 in the ASX release with a very good map, which I encourage people to have a look at. We've identified these and been watching them for some time in the event that we needed to or felt we could diversify our activities. The option agreement with Eagle gives us the opportunity to do that. We felt we needed to tell the world about both of them at the same time because with one, the obvious question is, well, what are you guys going to be doing for a living? And if it's exploration by itself, well, hang on, what's the focus on the US project going to be? So putting them out together gives a strategy and a way forward. They are highly prospective. They're well known to our geologists. And we'll take them forward slowly. It's a bit of an option, actually, on potential for uranium mining to be accepted in Western Australia. Uranium exploration takes a while.
Well, the rocks took a few 100 million years to form, so surely we can wait a couple of years for you to explore this area.
Hopefully less than that, Shae, but yeah.
So I guess that takes us to what comes next for Aurora Energy Metals. Where do you kick off into 2025?
Well, we still have some met test work that's being finalised at the ALS labs here in Perth on the Aurora project, and we want to finish those, run them through the financial models, and tell the world that hopefully we've got better recoveries and therefore better economics for it, which will of course assist in an IPO process. That's almost finished at the moment, so that's ongoing, but to be wrapped up. We have to progress the option agreement because it is an option agreement. So we have to work with Eagle to go through that period to encourage them to accept the option. And we've got to talk about getting teams together in the US and who of us can help the Eagle guys in the US because we've got the history of the Aurora project. And the third one is looking at those exploration assets, which we can start doing because we have an option now to acquire them. We have to do the DD on those, have a good hard look at them, work out which ones, if not all, we want to take up in the option agreement, and then start working on them. So fairly busy time over the next, I hope, 6 to 8 months.
It sounds like there is an awful lot of work ahead and very exciting work at that. Listen, Peter, thank you so much for being here today. It was great to catch up.
My pleasure.